You live as if reality were neutral, but every gesture you make alters the course of what exists. Alfred North Whitehead revealed that nothing stands outside the process, not even you. There is a divine intelligence pulsing through everything, shaping even your most private thoughts. And yet, you protect yourself with the illusion of authorship, as if your mind were not an organ of that same intelligence, trying to recognize itself. Your parents believe this illusion too, and pass down the habit of thinking that living means controlling. But who are you, really, when the consciousness you call yours is just a reflection of the whole that is thinking itself through you? The coincidences that annoy you, the impulses you can't explain, these are responses that reality sends back to you. Ignoring them is more than a distraction. It's a refusal to belong. Keep refusing to listen, and soon you won't know whether you are the one observing reality or whether reality is the one watching you fade away.
There is a silent dialogue taking place all around you right now. At this very moment, countless communications are moving through the space you occupy, some picked up by your conscious senses, others flowing through channels your usual attention doesn't recognize. This ongoing exchange between you and the cosmos is not an abstract theory or a distant mystical idea. It's as real as your breath and as present as the weight of your body where you are sitting now. When a sudden memory of someone dear appears out of nowhere and that person contacts you shortly after, something beyond coincidence is at work. When you wake up with a clear solution to a problem that seemed impossible the night before, a greater intelligence has processed information while your conscious mind was resting. When certain places instantly feel comforting or unsettling for no apparent reason, your body is responding to invisible yet completely real qualities of that environment. The philosopher Alfred North Whitehead understood that all existence participates in a continuous dance of relationships. What he called prehension, the way every element of reality grasps and responds to every other element around it. This process happens constantly, from the smallest particles to the vast complexities of human consciousness. We don't need to understand this intellectually in order to experience it. In fact, the intellect often interferes with our ability to perceive these subtle connections directly. Think about how your body knows exactly how hard to press each key as you type, without needing to calculate the force consciously. Notice how you sometimes wake up just moments before your alarm on important days. See how certain natural environments instantly calm your restless mind without any effort on your part. These are only the most obvious signs of a deeper harmony always at work. Ancient contemplative traditions developed ways to amplify this subtle listening, not through beliefs or dogma, but through practices that refine perception until the obvious becomes visible. What we call intuition, premonition, or direct knowing are all aspects of this ongoing conversation between our awareness and the greater field of intelligence that surrounds us. The real question is not whether this communication exists. Your own experiences have confirmed it again and again. The real question is, how can we fine-tune our reception to hear more clearly the transmissions that never cease? You are walking down a familiar street when suddenly you feel the urge to change direction. There is no logical reason, only a bodily certainty that another route would be better. Minutes later, you realize you avoided a traffic jam, an unpleasant encounter, or arrived exactly where you needed to be. This ability to pick up information beyond obvious perception is always operating, guiding your choices through sensory channels you rarely recognize consciously. The human body is an instrument of perception far more sophisticated than we usually imagine. Beyond the well-known senses of sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell, additional sensory capacities are working all the time. Each of these capacities receives specific aspects of reality and translates them into sensations, impulses, and insights that deeply shape the way you navigate the world. Think about how you always know where your hands are, even with your eyes closed. This internal bodily awareness allows you to scratch an itch precisely where it is, to dance without watching your feet, or to reach for objects in the dark with surprising accuracy. This sense operates through specialized receptors distributed throughout your body, constantly updating an internal map of your position in space. Alfred North Whitehead understood that we perceive reality through two distinct but intertwined modes. There is the immediate and clear perception of the obvious senses, what he called presentational immediacy. But there is also a deeper, more subtle perception, causal efficacy, in which we sense the forces and influences shaping each moment. When you feel the air heavy before a storm, or sense lightness before good news arrives, you are experiencing that second form of perception. Your sense of time also reveals extraordinary sensory capacities. You often wake up naturally just minutes before your alarm on important days. You sense when someone is about to call. You experience time moving differently when you are bored or completely absorbed in something fascinating. This temporal sense is not merely a mental construct. It arises from complex biological rhythms that synchronize your organism with the natural and social cycles around you. The balance that keeps you standing upright involves an intricate orchestration of information. Delicate structures in your inner ear constantly detect minute changes in position and motion. Your eyes add visual references. The pressure on your feet signals the slope of the ground. All these data integrates instantly, allowing automatic adjustments you never notice. Surfers and dancers develop this sense to extraordinary levels, responding to the slightest shifts before consciously processing them. There is also an ongoing internal awareness monitoring the state of your organism. You feel hunger before your stomach growls, thirst before your mouth dries, fatigue before your eyes grow heavy. This internal perception, sometimes called the sixth sense, actually encompasses multiple capacities that detect internal temperature, chemical balance, organ pressure, heartbeat, and countless other signals. People who cultivate refined attention to these inner cues often make better decisions in complex situations, as if the body knows something the mind has not yet processed. Whitehead described how every moment of experience incorporates all relevant past and projects itself toward future possibilities. Our expanded senses actively participate in that process. When you enter a space and immediately feel whether it is welcoming or hostile, your organism is processing thousands of microsignals, the quality of light, subtle sounds, peripheral movements, even the chemical composition of the air, and comparing them with stored patterns of past experience. Musicians develop the ability to distinguish sound intervals that seem identical to untrained ears. Sommeliers detect aromatic nuances completely missed by most people. Massage therapists feel tensions through their hands that medical scans may not reveal. Mothers distinguish between different kinds of their baby's cries that sound the same to others. These examples show that sensory limits are not fixed. They expand dramatically through directed attention and practice. The crucial point is that these expanded perceptions are not special gifts reserved for a few. They are latent abilities within every human being, waiting to be awakened through conscious attention. Young children often display sensitivities that adults have lost. They instantly perceive emotional atmospheres, detect mismatches between words and intentions, and respond to presences others fail to notice. Contemplative traditions across cultures have always known about this perceptual richness. Indigenous hunters track animals through signals invisible to urban observers. Polynesian navigators cross vast oceans, guided by wave patterns they feel through the hulls of their boats. Traditional farmers predict weather changes by observing subtle environmental signs that modern meteorologists are only beginning to appreciate. These skills arise when attention turns toward dimensions of experience normally ignored. The universe is constantly transmitting information through these multiple sensory channels. The question has never been about accessibility. These messages have always been available. The challenge is developing the perceptual subtlety required to recognize them. Like a radio that must be tuned to the correct frequency, our expanded senses require deliberate adjustment to pick up the transmissions always surrounding us. Given that we use only a tiny fraction of our available sensory capacities, what transformations might become possible if we devoted as much attention to expanding perception as we do to developing our intellect or our physical strength? The most intimate experience you know, your own consciousness, remains the greatest unsolved mystery. You know that you are conscious. You feel directly the quality of being present and aware. Yet explaining how or why this experience exists escapes every complete description. The consciousness you inhabit right now is not merely a passive observer of reality. It actively participates in it, shaping and being shaped by every encounter, every perception, every lived moment. Think of those times when you sense someone's presence before seeing them enter the room, or when the phone rings and you already know who is calling, or when you wake up in the middle of the night with the unshakable feeling that something important is happening to someone you love far away. These moments suggest that consciousness operates through dimensions that transcend apparent physical boundaries. Alfred North Whitehead proposed that consciousness does not arise from material complexity, but rather that it is a fundamental aspect of all existence. Every element of reality, from the simplest to the most complex, participates in some form of experience. He called these moments of experience occasions, events in which the past is absorbed and the future is anticipated in a creative present. Human consciousness, then, is a particularly rich and intricate expression of this universal experience, not an isolated anomaly within a dead universe. When you walk into a room where a heated argument just took place, even if silence now fills the air, something in the atmosphere communicates what happened. You feel the residual tension, the specific quality of the space altered by that emotional event. This is not imagination or projection. It is a direct perception of qualities that linger in the environment, picked up through your participation in that shared field of experience. There are moments when consciousness seems to expand beyond its usual boundaries. During deep contemplation, intense creativity, or extreme danger, the perception of time shifts, the sense of individual separation dissolves, and information arises from unidentified sources. Such experiences, reported consistently across cultures and ages, suggest that ordinary consciousness functions within a limited range of a much broader spectrum. Whitehead described how each occasion of experience prehends, that is, grasps and incorporates, aspects of other occasions around it. This prehension does not depend on physical proximity. When you think intensely of someone and that person reaches out, when you dream of solutions to problems that occupied your waking mind, or when you instantly sense that you can or cannot trust a stranger, you are witnessing prehensions that operate beyond conventional sensory channels. Being part of a group also reveals interesting aspects of this shared field. At concerts, ceremonies, or sporting events, a collective quality of consciousness often emerges. Emotions and perceptions seem to flow among participants. It is not simply emotional contagion or imitation. It feels as if the group temporarily participates in a unified field of experience, where what affects one resonates through all. Contemplative practices across the ages have developed methods to explore these expanded dimensions of consciousness, not through belief or dogma, but through direct experience. Practices such as prolonged silence, sustained attention, conscious breathing, or meditative movement allow practitioners to access forms of knowing that do not arrive through linear thought or physical senses. Even in sleep, consciousness remains active, though in different configurations. Dreams often bring relevant information presented in symbolic language. There are verified reports of scientific discoveries, musical compositions, and creative solutions that appeared fully formed within dreams. The chemist Kekulé visualized the structure of benzene in a dream. Mendeleev saw the periodic table arranged before him as he slept. These are not isolated anecdotes, but documented examples of how consciousness can access and process information through non-ordinary channels. The quality of attention you bring to each moment directly determines what reveals itself in your experience. Scattered, superficial attention perceives only the surface of things. Deep, sustained attention uncovers layers of meaning and connection normally hidden. It is like adjusting the focus of a lens. The same reality shows entirely different aspects depending on the quality of consciousness that encounters it. Whitehead emphasized that the universe is not composed of inert substances governed by mechanical laws, but is instead a living organism in which every part communicates creatively with the whole. Human consciousness actively participates in this communication. When you feel in tune with the flow of events, when synchronicities multiply, when insights appear spontaneously, you are experiencing this conscious participation in the larger field of reality that permeates all existence. The invitation is not to believe in something new, but to explore these dimensions directly within your own experience. What would it be like to pay attention to the moments when your consciousness seems to pick up information beyond the obvious senses? What might happen if you treated these subtle perceptions not as imagination to be dismissed, but as valid data about the nature of reality? How would your daily experience change if you began to see consciousness not as something you possess, but as a vast field in which you actively participate? Synchronicities occur when inner and outer events meet in meaningful ways, without one directly causing the other. You keep an important question alive in your mind, and suddenly answers begin to appear through unexpected encounters, casual conversations, or seemingly random discoveries. The timing is always too perfect to dismiss as mere chance. The information you need arrives precisely when you are ready to receive it. The right person shows up at the right moment. These patterns suggest an invisible coordination between your consciousness and the events surrounding you. Carl Jung devoted his life to observing these phenomena. In his clinical practice, he saw countless examples of how symbols appearing in his patients' dreams would soon manifest in real life. One person dreamed of a rare symbol and, the next day, encountered that exact image in the physical world in an unexpected way. Another described a specific scene in therapy and later experienced something remarkably similar within hours. Jung realized these events could not be explained by ordinary coincidence. Something deeper was connecting the inner world of dreams and thoughts with the outer world of events. We all know this language intuitively. You think of someone you haven't seen in months, and that person calls. A song that carries special meaning for you starts playing everywhere during a crucial phase of your life. The same number, word, or image keeps appearing when you are making an important decision. These patterns speak directly to a part of you that understands without needing logical explanation. Alfred North Whitehead offered a way to understand this through his idea that events organize themselves toward purposes, not merely as the mechanical results of causes. The future, in a sense, draws the present toward itself. When you hold a genuine need or a deep question, it acts like a magnet, attracting the answers and resources required. reality rearranges itself to bring you what you are ready to find. Notice how synchronicities tend to appear most often during major life transitions, when you change careers, begin or end relationships, or face significant crises. In those times, meaningful coincidences multiply. Reality seems more fluid and responsive when you're transforming. The patterns that appear often provide guidance, confirmation, or reveal a new direction exactly when you need it most. Your emotional state directly influences these occurrences. When you are open, curious, and receptive, synchronicities appear more frequently. When you genuinely seek understanding about something vital, when your attention is fully engaged with a heartfelt question, the universe seems to respond more readily. Your consciousness does not create these events out of nothing, but it participates in a larger intelligence that is always creating and organizing reality. Jung observed that synchronicities often involve universal themes that appear across human experience in all eras. Images of death and rebirth emerge during deep personal transformations. Symbols of journeys arise when we face change. Encounters with wise figures occur when we are seeking guidance. These archetypal patterns seem to organize external events in ways that mirror and support what is happening inside you. Whitehead viewed reality not as a collection of static objects in space, but as something always in motion, always in the process of becoming. Each present moment selects among possible futures based on purposes and values. Synchronicities are moments when this creative process becomes visible, when you can clearly see how reality organizes itself intelligently and responsively. The universe reveals itself not as a blind machine, but as a living, creative process. True synchronicities have perfect timing that distinguishes them from random coincidence. The right book falls into your hands when you are finally ready to understand its message. The person with exactly the skill you need appears when you are prepared to accept help. The opportunity arises precisely when you have developed what is required to embrace it. This timing reflects an intelligence that considers not only what you need, but also when you are ready. Paying attention to these patterns develops a special kind of sensitivity. You begin to recognize the unique way the universe communicates with you. Certain symbols, numbers, or themes start to become familiar. You learn to feel the difference between empty coincidences and those charged with meaning. Like any form of communication, the more attention you give it, the clearer it becomes. Try forming clear questions for the universe and observe what happens over the following days. You don't need to believe anything specific, just watch with genuine curiosity. Keep your questions alive in your awareness without forcing answers. Let events, encounters, and discoveries unfold naturally. Notice the patterns that emerge, the repetitions that stand out, the connections between what you feel and what happens around you. What would it be like to live knowing that every moment could carry meaningful communication, that your deepest questions naturally attract responses through the creative way life organizes itself around you? Your body knows things your mind has not yet processed. When you enter a room and instantly sense that something is wrong, when your back tightens around certain people, or when your stomach contracts before an important decision, these are not random reactions. They are forms of knowledge arriving through bodily intelligence, a perceptive system that operates continuously, receiving and interpreting information your thinking mind often ignores. Your body functions as a living antenna, constantly tuned to its surroundings. Every cell responds to subtle changes in pressure, temperature, vibration, and electromagnetic fields. When you get chills at certain moments, when your chest expands in the presence of natural beauty, or when your shoulders release tension in specific spaces, your organism is picking up and responding to real qualities in the environment that go beyond what the 5 basic senses can detect. Alfred North Whitehead understood the body not as a passive object controlled by the mind, but as a complex community of interrelated experiences. Every part of the body has its own way of sensing and responding, and all these experiences combine to create somatic knowledge, a wisdom that emerges from the organism as a whole, not only from the brain. When you feel in your body that something is true or false, you are accessing that collective intelligence of trillions of cells working together. Notice how your body automatically adjusts when you're about to pick something up, preparing your hand with exactly the right shape before contact. Observe how you avoid obstacles while walking distracted, how you find balance on uneven ground without thinking, or how you wake up seconds before the alarm on important mornings. These are not coincidences. They are demonstrations of the body's continuous, active intelligence, always present and always protecting you. The heart has its own way of knowing. When you meet someone and feel an immediate connection or an unexplainable resistance, when your heart races before receiving significant news, when you feel expansion in your chest during deep joy, these are direct perceptions from the heart's field of intelligence. It is not a metaphor to say the heart knows. It is recognition of a real form of perception our culture has learned to overlook. The abdomen also processes information in its own unique way. That flutter in your stomach before a challenge, the tightness when something feels off, the digestive ease when your choices are aligned. All of these are expressions of real knowledge communicated through the body's center of intuition. When people say they feel it in their gut, they are describing a genuine perception that arrives through this internal channel of intelligence. Practices of conscious movement reveal surprising dimensions of bodily wisdom. Dancers describe moments when the body knows the next movement before the mind decides. Athletes speak of their bodies responding perfectly in fractions of a second that no conscious thought could process. Martial artists experience motion arising with precise timing and accuracy beyond deliberate control. These states reveal bodily capacities that completely transcend conscious planning. Breathing is the most direct bridge between consciousness and bodily wisdom. Shifts in breath instantly alter your internal state. Shallow breathing keeps you in surface-level alertness. Deep breathing accesses deeper layers of perception. When you sigh spontaneously, the body is releasing accumulated tension. When your breath pauses in surprise or awe, the organism is creating space to process something meaningful. Whitehead described how every part of the body prehends, grasps, and responds to influences from its environment. When you feel the heavy atmosphere before a storm, when you sense the distinct quality of different times of day through bodily sensations, or when your body reacts differently to different people, even before words are exchanged, you are experiencing this direct capture of information through your entire organism. Touch reveals another dimension of this intelligence. Through touch, your hands can feel tension in another person's body, detect warmth or coolness that indicates imbalance, and sense emotional qualities through contact. Experienced massage therapists describe how their hands know where to work, as if guided by their own intelligence. Mothers often feel through touch when their children are unwell. Long before any symptom appears, the body carries the accumulated wisdom of all your experiences. When certain smells transport you instantly to specific memories, when particular postures evoke emotional states, when parts of your body retain tension from past events, these are examples of how the organism maintains its own system of memory and understanding, independent of mental recall. Developing trust in this bodily intelligence begins with simply stopping the habit of ignoring it. Take moments to pause and feel what is happening inside your body. Notice where there is tension or ease, warmth or coolness. Follow bodily impulses toward movement, rest, and nourishment. trust your first bodily impressions about people and situations. Each time you honor these perceptions, the communication between consciousness and the body's wisdom grows stronger. If the body demonstrates perceptive and cognitive abilities that operate independently of rational thought, what changes when we begin to trust this intelligence as much as we trust our thinking mind? You walk into a forest and your body instantly relaxes. Your breathing deepens, your shoulders drop, and your mind becomes still. It's not only because the air is cleaner or the noise is softer. Something in the patterns of that environment, the way light filters through the leaves, the rhythm of natural sounds, the organic curves of trunks and branches, communicates directly with your nervous system, carrying an ancient message of safety and belonging. Natural patterns speak a language you feel before you understand. The spiral of a seashell, the branching of a tree, the ripples in sand shaped by the wind. All these forms resonate with something deep within your perception. You don't need mathematics or geometry to sense the harmony in these shapes. Your body instantly recognizes what belongs to the natural order and what has been artificially imposed. Alfred North Whitehead understood that living organisms evolved in response to specific patterns of the natural environment. Over millions of years, our ancestors developed sensitivity to shapes, sounds, colors, and rhythms that signaled resources, dangers, or seasonal change. This deep attunement never disappeared. It remains active within each of us, constantly responding to the patterns we encounter, even when our conscious attention does not notice them. Compare how you feel in a shopping mall with straight corridors and uniform lighting versus how you feel in a garden with winding paths and varied natural light. The difference is not just aesthetic. Spaces built with repetitive straight lines, smooth surfaces, and constant illumination drain our vitality in ways we barely perceive. Environments that include natural curves, textured surfaces, and gentle shifts of light, on the other hand, nourish and restore our energy. The sound of flowing water has a universally calming effect. No matter your culture or personal history, the murmur of a stream, the rhythm of ocean waves, or even the soft patter of rain immediately soothes the body. These sounds carry rhythms that resonate with our internal biological rhythms. When we are deprived of them, replaced by the constant hum of machines and traffic, we lose a fundamental source of regulation and harmony. Colors found in healthy natural environments also provoke specific bodily responses. The green of living plants relaxes the eyes and the mind. The blue of a clear sky expands our inner sense of space. The brown of the earth grounds and stabilizes us. These are not learned cultural associations. Even infants who have never been taught the meanings of colors show the same responses. The hues of nature communicate directly with our physiology. Whitehead wrote that every occasion of experience responds to its total environment, not just to isolated stimuli. When you feel nourished by a sunset, it's not just the color or the light, it's the complete quality of that moment, the way all the elements combine to create a sense of harmony and wholeness. Your entire organism participates in that perception, every cell responding to the beauty of the experience. Notice how small children are naturally drawn to play with natural elements: stones, sticks, leaves, water. They can spend hours absorbed in arranging these materials, building little worlds, creating spontaneous art. This attraction is not random. Children still maintain a direct connection to the language of natural patterns, a connection adults often lose in artificial environments. Environments rich in natural patterns nourish abilities that sterile environments suppress. People who spend regular time in nature show greater creativity, stronger problem-solving skills, and more emotional resilience. It's not just the fresh air or the exercise. It's the exposure to the complex but harmonious patterns that define natural spaces. These patterns feed something essential in our consciousness. Architecture that deeply resonates with people inevitably incorporates principles found in nature, not through mathematical calculation, but through intuitive sensitivity to proportions and rhythms that feel right. Sacred spaces across cultures, from cathedrals to temples to mosques, evoke transcendence using light, sound, and form in ways that echo natural design. Even plants indoors change the quality of a space beyond simply cleaning the air. Their living presence, organic shapes, and continuous growth communicate vitality. People surrounded by living plants report feeling calmer, more focused, and more connected. It's as if plants serve as ambassadors of the natural world, reminding our bodies of the rhythms and patterns we belong to. Developing sensitivity to these patterns requires only one thing: attention. Notice how different environments affect your inner state. Observe which spaces energize you and which ones drain your vitality. Pay attention to how the presence of natural elements, even a single plant or the view of trees through a window, changes the quality of your experience. Each observation strengthens your ability to recognize and seek out the patterns that nurture rather than exhaust you. Suppose natural environments clearly nourish our vitality while sterile, uniform spaces deplete it. What practical changes could we make in our living and working spaces to restore this essential connection with the patterns that sustain us? You already know expanded states of consciousness intimately, even if you have never used that term. That moment between sleep and waking when solutions appear crystal clear. The flow state is when you are completely absorbed in something you love, the altered perception that comes during a high fever, the unique mental space that follows intense exercise. Each of these represents a different frequency of attunement to reality, an adjustment in how your consciousness receives and processes information. Your consciousness functions like an instrument that can be tuned to various frequencies. The ordinary waking state is only one of them, useful for everyday tasks but limited in perceptual range. When you shift states, you are not escaping reality or creating illusions. You are accessing other bands of the perceptual spectrum, tuning into aspects of the universe that have always been there but remain invisible at your usual frequency. The moment of waking is especially rich in expanded perception. In that liminal space, the rational mind has not yet taken full control, allowing insights and understanding to flow from deeper sources. Inventors describe seeing complete mechanisms in this state. Artists receive entire works. Solutions to complex problems appear effortlessly. It is no coincidence that many great discoveries have emerged during these transitional states. Alfred North Whitehead understood reality as containing multiple dimensions of experience, each accessible through different configurations of consciousness. When you alter your state, through meditation, breathwork, movement, fasting, or even fever, you change the configuration of how your awareness interacts with those dimensions. Information that was always present but inaccessible suddenly becomes available. Breath is the most immediate tool for navigating between states. Fast, shallow breathing keeps you in surface alertness, useful for quick reaction. Slow, deep breathing opens contemplative states where subtle perceptions emerge. The natural pauses between inhale and exhale, those quiet spaces of suspension, are brief portals into stillness, where profound insight can arise. Consistent meditation develops the ability to move voluntarily between different frequencies of consciousness. It is not about emptying the mind or reaching a special state. It is about learning to adjust your tuning, like turning the dial on a radio until the signal becomes clear. With practice, you become familiar with different frequencies, and learn to access the one most appropriate for each moment. Intense emotions naturally alter our perceptual frequency. Moments of deep love temporarily dissolve the barrier between self and other. Experiences of awe expand our sense of scale and perspective. Even profound grief can open perceptual gateways, revealing dimensions of existence we normally overlook in daily life. When used intentionally and within proper contexts, psychedelic substances can temporarily tune consciousness to frequencies usually beyond reach. People often report insights into the nature of reality, resolution of long-buried trauma, or experiences of unity and interconnectedness that remain meaningful long after the chemical effects fade. These substances do not create new perceptions, they momentarily lift the filters that normally limit them. Sensory deprivation offers another path to expanded states. When external stimuli are removed through floating tanks, dark rooms, or extended silence, consciousness naturally turns inward, tuning into subtler frequencies. People often access forgotten memories, experience deep creative insights, or encounter a peace they could not reach through effort alone. Intense physical activity can lead to similar states. Runners describe the runner's high, that moment when effort disappears and they feel carried by something greater. Dancers speak of their bodies moving perfectly without conscious control. In these states, the thinking mind grows silent and a deeper bodily intelligence takes over, revealing capacities and understandings beyond mental command. Each state of consciousness reveals a different aspect of the total reality. None is more real than the others. Each provides a valid and useful perspective. The goal is not to remain forever in expanded states, but to develop the flexibility to move fluidly among them. Like a musician who masters several instruments, you become capable of choosing the right mode of awareness for each situation. The universe is transmitting on all frequencies at once. Most of us live our entire lives tuned to only one station, believing it is all that exists. Developing familiarity with different states of consciousness is like discovering that the dial can turn, revealing countless other broadcasts that were always available. Every transformation begins with understanding your role as a co-creator. The only way to connect with this divine intelligence is through meditation. We have developed a set of audio tools to help you access this higher state of awareness. To learn more and gain immediate access, click the link on the screen or in the comments. If this message resonated with you, write in the comments, "It made sense to me,"